So I'm curious what pulled you into these relational connective practices in the first place? Like, how did you encounter them, or like what opened it up for you?
It was a newsletter that I already saw passing by around over a year, but there was something in it how the practice was described that, like, difficult to describe, but something that like I liked it, but I didn't go because it felt like I could feel the challenge that was in it. It's like just being present together with what's there felt very, very scary. So I waited that long that workshop was not organized anymore. So I stepped up I enrolled for the Circling Europe newsletter, and then just went to an online course, and then decided immediately to do an SAS. Yeah. And I was blown away, like the first session of that online course. It was like very international, and just people taking time to be with each other, basically. And there was a lot of aliveness that was with me during and also after the session, which was for me like, okay, that's something that this practice is doing to me. So a lot of life energy. That's basically that drove me to the practice. Like, something I get out of this that makes me very alive, that I want more. Yeah.
What has it been like to then be in or with this practice for quite some years now?
Well, the longing for aliveness that was in the practice for me was just looking backwards to it, also longing for more aliveness in my own life. So the practice has really like spread, or like blended more into my life. Like, I'm just doing more things that bring more aliveness to me. I have more connections where there's more aliveness.
Could you describe aliveness?
Is just tapping into what's aliveness right now, of like what's aliveness like. Just had a amazing circling session, so that's something that's there. It's vibrancy in my whole body. It's something in my eyes that's awake and open and curious. And there's also a sense of joy, like joy about being a human being, meeting others, moving around with the body, speaking to you right now, like that kind of enjoyment of the things that I'm with or doing. Yeah. And then there's also something like aliveness in connection, like just experiencing like a mutual exchange of energy, of impacting each other, about something that unfolds being with somebody else, that this practice makes possible. So in that sense, like a lot of my connections that I have are more nourishing, or more bringing me more what I want, or yeah.
What's it like for you to lead this practice? Like, you've been doing it for quite some years now also.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Like, what I'm curious what it does for you to lead it,
Yeah.
and also on the other hand, like what you see it, like how it impacts your participants.
Yeah. Like my immediate body response was like scary. It's really scary to step up, and I see myself being less scared and more trusting the practice and my own capacities. And leading, circling, or leading this practice has been an amplifier for what happens when I'm in this practice as a participant. Like things get amplified because you're more visible. Yeah. And in that sense, it like freed up a lot of power, capacity. Yeah. A bigger capacity to be with challenging things, to move within unknown territory, more surrender to how something shows up instead of resisting how it is, and more being with what you would like it to be. And like that encircling, but then spreading it to my own life, like it's helping me a lot with just being more surrendered to what unfolds in my life instead of like wanting to shape it or get in a certain way when it's not going in that direction. So yeah, and then navigating what I really want, or what I really want to, yeah.
And what's it like for your participants?
Towards myself, like softening, it's like a slower pace in my system. So what I often see is that people get more embodied, more in a place where their body or their system was, but they were not fully in contact with, or maybe resisting. Deeper connections. It's like a capacity to be more with people in depth and in yeah, like just being really interested and curious about others, and then also daring to be more open for impact, which then brings transformation. And so in that sense, like I've seen a lot of people that have been circling regularly in our community over the years, like just opening up much more and being much more in their life force and daring to take decisions and being more open to life. So in that sense, like less suffering, or like, it's not that there's no pain anymore, but like less resistance and more openness to what the pain brings and where it, yeah, like what it has to tell. Yeah. That's maybe another thing I want to add, like what I also see, which feels very, very important for me, is that it brings a sense of belonging. Like just meeting people in this practice is like some sense of coming home, and just a place where you can explore being yourself more freely, and also experimenting with new expressions of yourself, and trying things out that you might not want to, or not dare to try out in your daily life. Yeah.
Yeah, I think you've named it already, but like what, if you were to like name your passion for being in and leading this practice, like what would that be?
My passion is to be closer to life and how it really shows up. With all mysticism that is sometimes showing up in it. Like how sometimes circles develop as magical. It's like it's offering everybody just what they need right in the moment. If there's enough surrender in the room. Also for the one leading. Yeah. And just getting people more in life is really something I deeply care about. Yeah, and then with life comes like potential, capacities, power, becoming bigger than you are, than you're currently experiencing yourself. That's not something I could have thought of before. Sharing this, but it feels true. It feels true. Yeah.
Cool. Is there anything more you'd like to add?
I think there's just like a lot of like compared to other practices where there is embodiment or like meditation or it's surprisingly free and surprisingly inviting in other practices. And that's like, it feels very complete for me, at least for what I long for, or what my system reacts to. Yeah, like my first circle in the SAS was just that, like, walked into the room and just looked around, like somebody sitting in a corner quietly and others doing yoga postures or push-ups against the wall, and people even like fighting, or like play fighting, and then others were just talking with each other, and there was music. I was like, what is this place? Like, and then we sat into silence, and I suddenly felt like, wow, this really feels at home. Like, this is a place where I can just, don't need to be a certain way. Like, I can just rest in silence, or not do whatever the fuck I want. That's not the right expression, but like, just stepping into what's really true for me, and then giving that an expression is not, there's no guidebook about what's the right expression in this practice. It's like you have to find out for yourself, which is very liberating and very homecoming for me in like a very special way. Yeah. I started crying. It was like the first 10 minutes, my first SAS. This is so touching. Yeah.
Thank you.